You can work out 5 days a week. You can eat your greens, skip dessert, keep your cholesterol in check, and still, one morning, fall to the floor with a heart attack. Now, how is that possible? We've been told for decades that heart disease is all about plaque. That cholesterol builds up, narrows the arteries, and that's what causes a heart attack. But what if that's not the full picture? Here's a startling truth most people don't know. More than 80% of heart attacks and strokes are not caused by plaque, calcium, or cholesterol buildup. They're caused by something that forms in under 5 seconds. A clot. Yes, a clot. Your body's emergency repair mechanism gone rogue. And it happens so fast, so silently, you'd never see it coming. Not from your lab tests, not from your treadmill stress test, not from your last checkup. What I'm about to show you today may completely rewire the way you think about heart disease. Because if you keep focusing on cholesterol while ignoring the real threat, the hidden triggers behind clotting, you might miss your only chance to prevent the most fatal event of your life. Are you ready? Because this might just save your life, or the life of someone you love. Let's clear the air. Most heart attacks don't begin with a slow, steady buildup of plaque over decades. They begin with something sudden, something fast. They begin with a clot. Clots form when the body tries to heal. If you cut your hand, a clot stops the bleeding. But what if that same clot forms inside your artery? What if your body mistakenly believes there's damage inside your blood vessel and sends the alarm? It rushes platelets, fibrin, and clotting factors to the site. And within seconds, not minutes, not hours, a clot can block blood flow to your heart or your brain. And that's it. That's how most heart attacks and strokes actually happen. Now here's what's interesting. Most arteries aren't completely clogged when this happens. Studies show that many people who suffer heart attacks had less than 50% narrowing in their arteries. That means the plaque wasn't the main problem. It was the clot that sealed the deal. And here's the kicker. Your body is supposed to dissolve that clot once the job is done. It's a system that's supposed to clean itself up. But for many people, especially after 60, that cleanup system gets sluggish. The clots don't dissolve. They stay, they harden, they kill. So why does this happen? Why does a life-saving mechanism become a silent killer? Because something's irritating the lining of your blood vessels. Inflammation, toxins, stress, sugar. We'll get into those in a moment. But here's the point. If you've been told cholesterol is the one thing to fear, you've only been told half the story. What you really need to ask is, what makes my blood clot too easily? Because if we focus only on plaque, we wait decades to act. But if we understand clots, we can stop a heart attack before it even begins. Prevention isn't just possible. It's powerful. And it starts with seeing the real enemy clearly. Have you ever heard of someone passing away shortly after their spouse dies? It's not just coincidence. There's a name for it. It's called broken heart syndrome. And no, it's not just poetic. It's medical. The real term is Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. And it's been documented in hospitals around the world. When someone experiences a sudden emotional shock, the death of a loved one, a painful divorce, a traumatic event, the heart responds. Not metaphorically, literally. Here's what happens. The body releases a flood of stress hormones, catecholamines like adrenaline and cortisol. And those hormones surge straight to the heart muscle. In some people, especially older adults, that surge stuns the heart. The left ventricle, the heart's main pumping chamber, stops working properly. The heart balloons out in a strange shape. Blood can't move the way it should. This can look and feel exactly like a heart attack. Same chest pain, same shortness of breath, same crushing weight. But when doctors run the tests, they often find no blocked arteries, no cholesterol issue, no clot. Just a heart that's been shocked and hurt by grief. Think it's rare? It's not. Harvard researchers have shown broken heart syndrome is responsible for more cardiac events than we used to believe. And it's not benign. It can kill. In fact, a recent study from the American Heart Association found that men with this condition are twice as likely to die compared to women. Why? Because many men don't talk about their pain. They don't process it. They internalize it, and the heart keeps the score. I want you to think about how many stories you've heard, or maybe lived, that sound just like this. A woman loses her husband and dies months later. A father has a stroke days after burying his son. A caregiver collapses after years of constant stress, never resting, never letting go. These aren't just tragedies. They're warnings. Emotional trauma changes the chemistry of your body. It's not just in your head. It's in your arteries, in your blood pressure, in your clotting factors, in the way your heart beats or doesn't. Instead of asking, "What medication do I need?" maybe the better question is, "What pain have I been holding inside for too long?" Because unlike cholesterol, you can't measure grief in a lab, but you can feel it. And if you ignore it, it will find its way out. So if you're hurting, if you've been through loss, you're not weak. You're human. And healing your heart might start with facing what broke it in the first place. Now that we understand how emotion can quite literally damage the heart, let's look at the other hidden triggers you may never have suspected. Most people think clots just happen out of nowhere. But the truth is, they're almost always triggered. And not by what you think. Let's walk through the list, because understanding what causes clots gives you the power to prevent them. First, smoking. You already know it's bad for your lungs. But what it does to your arteries is even worse. Each puff releases thousands of chemicals. These chemicals inflame the delicate lining of your blood vessels. That inflammation becomes a beacon, calling the body to patch it. And how does your body patch things? Clots. Even people who quit years ago may still carry damage from the past. And if you're still smoking, even just a few, you're gambling with your life. Next, pollution. Airborne toxins don't just stay in your lungs. They seep into your bloodstream. They irritate, inflame, and trigger your immune system, which means more clotting. Alcohol comes next. Some say a glass of wine helps the heart. But chronic alcohol intake, it's toxic to your liver, the very organ that regulates clotting. Impair the liver, and you throw the whole system off balance. Not to mention, alcohol increases estrogen levels, which leads us to the next risk. Hormonal therapies, like hormone replacement therapy, HRT, or certain birth control pills, increase clotting risk, especially in women over 60. Many are told these are safe. But safe for whom? The data says otherwise. Then we come to a big one: refined carbohydrates, white bread, pasta, soda. They spike your blood sugar, and sugar, in high amounts, coats the inside of your arteries like glue. It makes your blood sticky, and sticky blood clots faster. That's why diabetics have 4 to 5 times the risk of clots. It's not just about insulin, it's about inflammation and the constant damage sugar causes to the vascular system. Now here's a surprising one: infections. An infection in your gums, a failed root canal, even a low-grade chronic infection can leak bacteria into your bloodstream. That bacteria damages the vessel walls. And again, the body responds with a clot. And finally, stress. We've talked about grief and trauma, but even day-to-day stress matters. Long commutes, caregiving, financial worries. Every time your body thinks it's under attack, it prepares for injury. That means it raises your clotting potential, even if there's no injury at all. Now think about this. Most people walk around with multiple triggers at the same time. They're stressed, not sleeping, eating poorly, dealing with pain, maybe taking medications that add to the problem. It's a perfect storm. And the clot is the result. But here's the good news. Most of these triggers are reversible. And unlike genetics or age, you can change these things, not all at once, but step by step. Because instead of worrying about plaque you can't see, you can start removing the triggers you do know. That's real prevention. That's real power. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So far, we've uncovered the truth about clots. We've seen how fast they form, how deadly they can be, and what triggers them. Now the question is, what can you do about it? Let's talk about real solutions, not just pills, not just symptom management, but real ways to help your body protect itself. And let's start with something most doctors never talk about: vitamin K2. You've heard of calcium. You've probably been told to take more of it. But here's the catch. Calcium doesn't always go where it's supposed to. In fact, when it gets into your soft tissues, especially your arteries, it becomes dangerous. It hardens them. It makes them brittle. It makes clotting more likely. This is where vitamin K2 comes in. K2 tells calcium where to go. It helps move calcium out of your arteries and into your bones, where it belongs. It's like traffic control for your minerals. And here's what's wild. K2 comes from the very foods we've been told to avoid: egg yolks, butter, liver, certain cheeses. These are natural sources of K2, yet so many older Americans have cut them out completely. Now, if you're taking vitamin D, and many of you are, you need to pair it with K2. Why? Because vitamin D increases calcium absorption. That's good if the calcium goes to the right places. But without K2, that calcium can go rogue. So think of D and K2 as a team. Together, they lower inflammation, improve artery health, and help reduce clot risk. Next, magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral your heart loves. It helps regulate heartbeat. It prevents spasms in your arteries. And it plays a role in over 300 processes in your body, including balancing calcium. Magnesium also helps prevent arrhythmias, like atrial fibrillation, which is a known trigger for clotting. If your heart is out of rhythm, blood can pool and clots can form. Keeping magnesium levels healthy reduces that risk. Now, let's talk about nitric oxide. This is a natural molecule your body produces, and it's critical for healthy blood flow. Nitric oxide relaxes your arteries. It helps them open wide. That means better circulation, lower pressure, and less chance for clots to stick. You can boost nitric oxide with sunlight. Yes, just being outside. You can boost it by breathing through your nose, not your mouth. And you can boost it with foods rich in L-arginine, like meat and liver. Notice something? Once again, the foods we've been told to fear, meat, organ meats, saturated fat, are showing up as healing tools when used wisely. Now let's go deeper. There are natural enzymes that help dissolve clots. We're talking about nattokinase, serrapeptase, and bromelain. These aren't blood thinners like aspirin. They're clot regulators. They help the body break down excess fibrin, the sticky web that holds clots together. Nattokinase, in particular, comes from fermented soybeans, but in supplement form, it can help reduce clotting factors, especially when taken on an empty stomach. Are these miracle cures? No, but they're powerful tools, especially for people who are already at risk. Of course, none of this matters if your diet is working against you. If you're still loading up on refined carbs, sugary drinks, and processed oils, you're feeding inflammation. And inflammation is the breeding ground for clots. That's why fasting, even just skipping breakfast, can make a difference. Fasting lowers insulin, reduces blood sugar spikes, and calms systemic inflammation. It gives your arteries a break, and a ketogenic diet, when done correctly, reduces sugar, supports healthy fats, and helps your body produce ketones, which are anti-inflammatory. But here's the key. This isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about shifting the environment inside your body from one that promotes clots to one that prevents them. Because instead of waiting for something to go wrong, you can start making it right today. So, what will you do with this? You now know that the biggest threat to your heart isn't just plaque. It's the clot, the inflammation, the stress, the triggers you can't see, but you can feel. And you also know this. You're not helpless. You're not too old. And it's never too late. Instead of waiting for a prescription, you can make a change. Instead of fearing your genetics, you can shift your daily habits. Instead of being reactive, you can be preventive. Take a walk. Step into the sunlight. Breathe through your nose. Add magnesium, K2, real foods back to your life. Cut the sugar. Get your peace back. And most of all, listen to your heart. Not just the rhythm, but what it's been trying to tell you all along. Because if you take care of your heart today, it will take care of you for years to come. Thank you for watching. Take one step, and I'll see you in the next video.